Most people spend their whole life believing success is some kind of mystery. Like certain people just get lucky, or they're born talented, or they have something special written in their destiny. But the truth? Success is not destiny. It's information. It's awareness. It's understanding the hidden game the world never teaches you. And that's exactly what this video is about. Today, we're breaking down the invisible rules successful people live by. Rules you were never taught in school, not at home, not by society. These are the subtle mindsets, systems, and psychological frameworks that quietly separate the people who rise from the people who stay stuck. This isn't motivational noise, and it's definitely not a work hard and everything will magically happen type of video. This is pure logic, practical science, and real-world strategy. Because whether you realize it or not, there are things successful people know that you don't. Not because you're incapable, but because nobody showed you the blueprint. Nobody explained the patterns. Nobody decoded the game. And I created English Shock to fix exactly that. To give you the knowledge, the clarity, and the mindset upgrades that actually shift your trajectory. In this video, we're going layer by layer, from mindset to energy, habits to decision-making, environment to ambition, and by the end, you'll see success from a completely different angle. You'll understand why some people move faster, grow smarter, and achieve more even with the same 24 hours you have. And most importantly, you'll learn how to apply these codes in your own life starting today. So sit back, stay locked in, and let's decode the real secrets of success, the things they know, that you were never told. The hidden game you never saw. Most people think success is all about grinding harder, hustling longer, or waking up at 5 a.m. like some motivational robot. But the truth is way more subtle and way more scientific. Successful people aren't just playing harder, they're playing a completely different game. And the wildest part? Nobody told you this game even existed. While everyone around you is stuck in the visible world, marks, degrees, jobs, salary slips, successful people operate in the invisible layers of reality. Layers you've never been trained to see. You've been taught to look at effort. They've been trained to look at systems. You were conditioned to chase tasks. They were programmed to build leverage. While you were busy, doing more, they were designing ways to make their work compound, so that 1 hour of their effort gives 10 hours of output. And because nobody explained this difference to you growing up, you probably spent years thinking your lack of success was because you weren't good enough, when in reality, you were simply working with outdated rules of the game. Think of success like a chess match. You've been playing with the mindset of a beginner, reacting to every move, hoping things magically work out, while successful people think 10 steps ahead. They see patterns, not moments. They see systems, not tasks. They analyze cause and effect like scientists, constantly tweaking the variables of their life until the results shift in their favor. They don't wait for opportunity, they manufacture it by controlling the environment around them. And here's the part nobody talks about. Successful people don't rely on motivation. They rely on psychology. They don't trust discipline, they trust structure. They don't bet on talent, they bet on habits. They know human willpower is weak, so they build routines that make success automatic. Their advantage isn't intelligence, it's design. They design their life so even on their worst days, they still move forward while most people stay stuck. In this video, we're unpacking the exact psychological, practical, and strategic knowledge that successful people quietly operate with. Things they know, things you were never taught, and things that can literally flip your entire trajectory if you understand them deeply. This is the part of success nobody posts in motivational reels, because it's not aesthetic, it's not vibey, and it's definitely not glamorous. But it's the foundation of every big achievement you've ever admired. If you've ever felt like you're trying hard but still not getting ahead, trust me, you're not the problem. Your information is. And I'm about to change that. The 1% rule that changes everything. Successful people understand one thing that almost everyone else ignores. Tiny improvements matter more than massive efforts. Most people attempt big changes, get overwhelmed, burn out, and assume success isn't for them. But high performers know the real power lies in micro-growth, small changes that, when repeated consistently, create exponential outcomes. Here's the scientific reality most people never realize. If you improve just 1% every single day, mathematically you become 37 times better in 1 year. But if you decline 1% every day, you drop to almost zero. That's why successful people obsess over small wins. They understand compounding isn't just a financial concept, it's a life strategy. One book makes you smarter. One skill makes you more capable. One habit shifts your identity. These tiny upgrades stack silently until suddenly, your life looks completely different. But the average person? They only respect big achievements, dramatic results, or overnight changes. So they keep looking for motivation instead of momentum. Success isn't built on intensity, it's built on consistency. A 10-minute daily skill upgrade beats a 3-hour motivational rush that dies the next morning. Successful people know this, so they engineer their lives around small, repeatable actions instead of dramatic once-in-a-while efforts. And here's the twist. This isn't about working more, it's about working smarter. When they want to learn something new, they don't try to master it in one day. They break it into micro-learning sessions. When they want better health, they don't force a hardcore 2-hour workout. They start with a 15-minute routine they know they'll stick to. They pair their habits with triggers. Wake up right pointing arrow, drink water. Sit to study right pointing arrow, open notebook. Start laptop right pointing arrow, spend 5 minutes on skill building. They hack their environment so progress becomes the default, not the struggle. The invisible advantage? Compounding motivation. Once small wins stack, your confidence multiplies. Your identity shifts. You stop feeling like someone trying to become successful, and instead you start feeling like someone who grows every day. That identity switch is what most people never achieve, and without it, they keep starting over, quitting, restarting, quitting, forever. Successful people don't wait for change. They build systems that make change inevitable. They don't chase motivation, they create momentum. And once momentum starts rolling, it becomes extremely hard to stop. The information gap that shapes your destiny. Here's a harsh but real truth. Successful people aren't always smarter, richer, or more talented than you. They just know things you were never taught. And this information gap silently shapes who wins and who stays stuck. While most people grow up learning how to memorize answers for exams, successful people learn how the world actually works, how markets move, how people think, how opportunities form, and how systems reward certain behaviors. Think about school. You were taught formulas, dates, theories, but nobody taught you personal finance, opportunity spotting, risk-taking, networking psychology, or how to build skills that actually matter in the real world. Successful people, directly or indirectly, end up accessing these categories of knowledge early, either through mentors, family, books, environments, or curiosity. They discover the real rules behind success while everyone else is still stuck playing by the fake rules. This is why sometimes you see an average student outperforming a topper in life. It's not luck, it's knowledge. They learned how careers grow, how leverage multiplies income, how to talk to people in a way that builds trust, how to solve valuable problems, and how to think long-term when everyone else is chasing instant gratification. They operate with an upgraded mental software, while most people are stuck with the default version. The biggest gap? Exposure. Successful people have access to ideas and environments that expand their sense of possibility. When you grow up seeing business conversations, investments, creativity, or ambitious people around you, your brain picks up those patterns unconsciously. You start believing that success is normal, not a miracle. But when your environment is filled with fear, doubt, negativity, or limited thinking, your brain shrinks your potential to match your surroundings. You subconsciously begin to lower your goals, not because you're incapable, but because your exposure never showed you what's possible. The wild part is this: exposure decides ambition, and ambition decides everything else. Successful people constantly seek new information, books, podcasts, mentors, online courses, communities, experiments, anything that widens their mental model of the world. They don't learn for exams, they learn for evolution. They don't collect information, they collect insights that actually change behavior. Once you start consuming the right knowledge, your life trajectory starts bending upward. Not because you suddenly become brilliant, but because you stop operating blindly. You start understanding how to choose, what to focus on, what to ignore, and how to make decisions that compound. That clarity is something most people never achieve, and it's one of the biggest reasons success feels like a secret world. The psychology of long-term thinking. One of the rarest skills successful people master, something almost nobody around you practices, is long-term thinking. And this single mental shift separates the people who rise from the people who remain stuck their entire lives. Most individuals make decisions emotionally and instantly. They choose what feels good right now. Successful people make decisions strategically. They choose what moves them forward 5 years from now. The average person's mindset is built around comfort, easy dopamine, quick validation, short-term pleasure, fast results. But successful people play a different game. They delay gratification. They endure boredom. They stay consistent even when nobody is watching. They understand that real success grows slowly, invisibly, and silently, long before the world ever sees the outcome. That's why they're never in a rush to prove something. They'd rather build something that lasts. When you think long-term, you start seeing opportunities differently. A skill isn't just a task you're learning, it's a lifelong asset. A mistake isn't a failure, it's a data point. A year of effort isn't a sacrifice, it's an investment. This mental lens completely changes how you act. And because most people don't think like this, they fall into the trap of giving up too early, switching goals too fast, or expecting results too soon. They sabotage themselves without even realizing it. Long-term thinkers don't get distracted by short-term noise. They don't chase trends, they chase transformation. They're patient, but they're also calculating. They build habits that compound. They choose problems worth solving. They focus on skills with long-term value: communication, decision-making, discipline, creativity, critical thinking. Skills that keep paying them again and again. While everyone else is busy comparing lives on Instagram, successful people are quietly making small moves that will explode into massive results later. Here's the craziest part. Long-term thinking actually reduces stress. When you know you're building something meaningful, you stop feeling insecure about temporary failures. You don't panic when results are slow. You don't get jealous when someone else wins faster. You understand that the game of success is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And once this mindset becomes your default, you naturally start making smarter choices. Choices that your future self will thank you for. Most people underestimate what they can achieve in 5 years, and overestimate what they can achieve in 5 weeks. Successful people flip this. They think far ahead and move with calculated patience. That's what sets them apart. The power of environment engineering. Successful people guard their environment like it's their operating system, because it is. They know your surroundings don't just influence your mindset, they program it. Most people believe they can become successful while staying in the same loud, distracted, negative, or unmotivated atmosphere. But your environment is stronger than your willpower. If your surroundings don't support your growth, even your best habits eventually collapse. Here's the truth. Humans are adaptive creatures. We absorb energy, behaviors, beliefs, and standards from whatever or whoever we spend the most time around. That's why successful people deliberately design their environment to push them forward instead of pulling them down. They shape everything: people, workspace, digital consumption, daily routines, so that success feels natural instead of forced. Think about the people around you. Successful individuals avoid energy drainers, the complainers, the gossipers, the excuse makers, the ones who always predict failure. These people weaken your mindset without you even noticing. Instead, successful people spend more time around builders, people who talk ideas, growth, solutions, opportunities. Even if they don't have such people in real life, they create a virtual environment using books, podcasts, online mentors, or communities. Environment is not limited to location, it's also what you consume, what you allow, and what you tolerate. Then there's physical environment. Successful people don't rely on motivation to work. They make their workspace work for them. A clean desk, a clear routine, a distraction-free setup. A fixed time to focus. These tiny design choices remove friction. They know the hardest part of any task is starting, so they engineer surroundings that make starting effortless. Their environment is shaped to reduce resistance and increase action. And the digital environment? That's the biggest trap for most people. Your phone alone can destroy your potential if you're not careful. Successful people curate what they follow, what they see, what they let into their brain. They unfollow negativity. They silence distractions. They design their digital world so ideas, inspiration, and knowledge flow naturally instead of noise, confusion, and comparison. The truth is simple but insanely powerful. You can't rise above the environment you're stuck in. That's why successful people don't wait for motivation. They build an ecosystem where success becomes the default outcome. Their environment pushes them when they feel tired, guides them when they feel lost, and protects them when their discipline weakens. Change your environment, and your entire trajectory changes. The network effect. Why WHO matters more than you think. Successful people understand one truth that most people underestimate. Opportunities flow through people. Skills make you capable, but connections open doors. And the reason successful people grow faster isn't just because they're smart, it's because they're connected to the right minds, right conversations, and right ecosystems that multiply their chances. Most people treat networking like a formality, handshakes, small talk, random contacts. But successful people treat networking like a long-term investment. They don't collect people, they build relationships. They understand that behind every person is a network, behind every conversation is a perspective, and behind every genuine connection is a potential shift in their life. Here's what they know that you don't. Your network silently shapes your thinking. If you're surrounded by people who aim low, complain daily, and avoid risks, your brain starts adopting that mindset. But if your environment is filled with ambitious individuals who think big, solve problems, and take action, you naturally rise to their level. Humans mirror their surroundings, even if they don't realize it. Successful people don't wait for high-value networks, they create them. They start conversations, they ask thoughtful questions, they offer help, they share knowledge, they stay curious. They focus on giving value first, not asking for favors. And because they do this consistently, people trust them, recommend them, and remember them. This creates a ripple effect, opportunities that most people will never see. Another thing they understand: networking isn't about being extroverted, it's about being intentional. Even introverts build powerful networks when they focus on authenticity, shared goals, and meaningful exchanges. And in a digital world, networking has become easier than ever. One message, one interaction, one collaboration can shift your entire trajectory. Successful people leverage this: LinkedIn, communities, Discord groups, online courses, professional circles, while most people waste their digital time scrolling aimlessly. The biggest misconception is thinking that success is an individual journey. It's not. Even the biggest achievers standing alone in the spotlight were lifted by countless invisible hands: mentors, collaborators, supporters, believers, and sometimes even critics who pushed them to grow. People influence your confidence, your ideas, your behavior, your expectations, and your sense of possibility. Your network can either be your cage or your launchpad. For successful people, it's always the launchpad. The decision-making code that saves years of your life. If there's one superpower successful people rely on more than anything else, it's decision-making. Not emotional decisions, not impulsive decisions, not decisions based on fear or social pressure, strategic decisions. They know every choice creates a ripple effect, so they focus on making decisions that compound instead of decisions that comfort. Most people make choices based on how they feel in the moment. Successful people make choices based on where they want to be in the future. That's the difference. When a normal person faces a decision, they ask, what's easier? What's comfortable? But successful people ask, what moves me forward? What aligns with my long-term identity? What creates the maximum value? This shift alone saves them years of trial, error, and regret. They also avoid one of the biggest traps: overthinking. Overthinking is just fear pretending to be intelligence. It creates endless loops, delays action, and kills momentum. Successful people break this loop by using mental frameworks, simple rules that guide them quickly. 1. The 10th of October 10 rule. How will this decision feel in 10 minutes, 10 months, and 10 years? This kills emotional impulse and activates long-term clarity. 2. The opportunity cost lens. If I say yes to this, what am I saying no to? They understand every choice has a hidden cost. 3. The reversibility test. Is this decision reversible? If yes, they act fast. If no, they plan deeply. They don't treat every decision like a life or death scenario. 4. The identity filter. Does this choice match who I want to become? Not who I am right now, but the future version of me. While most people freeze in hesitation, successful people move with clarity. Not because they're fearless, but because they're aware that indecision is the most expensive decision of all. Every delayed choice costs opportunity, time, and momentum. Another thing they understand: information reduces fear. If they feel uncertain, they don't panic, they research, ask experts, analyze data, gather insights, and then decide. They don't rely on guesswork, they rely on knowledge. That's why their choices look smarter, they're simply better informed. And here's the underrated part: successful people know that a wrong decision made early is better than a perfect decision made too late. They iterate, adapt, adjust, and course correct. They treat decisions like experiments, not final judgments. This keeps them flexible, fast, and constantly evolving. While everyone else wastes time doubting, delaying, or waiting for perfect clarity, successful people make strategic moves and gain experience, the most valuable data in the world. That's why they grow faster. Not because they're lucky, but because they choose better and they choose earlier. The energy management secret no one talks about. Here's a truth most people ignore. Success is not a time management game, it's an energy management game. You can have 24 hours like everyone else, but the real question is, how much of that time are you actually operating at your best? Successful people know that productivity isn't about squeezing more hours into the day. It's about optimizing the energy that fuels those hours. Most people wake up tired, dragged through the day, crash mentally by afternoon, and then wonder why their goals aren't moving. They think they lack discipline, but what they actually lack is energy intelligence. Successful people take this seriously. They study their rhythms. They know their peak focus hours. They know when their creativity is highest. They know which environments boost their performance and which environments drain them. They don't fight their biology, they work with it. They protect their mental energy like treasure. They avoid useless drama, pointless arguments, and anything that floods their brain with negativity. They say no more often than yes, because they know every yes consumes energy. They reduce friction, organized workspace, clean routines, clear priorities, because chaos is an energy leak. They're not avoiding tasks, they're avoiding energy drains. Another thing they understand deeply: your brain has limited decision power each day. So they automate small things. They create routines. They batch similar tasks. They simplify choices. Every unnecessary decision you make, what to wear, when to start, what to study, what to do next, slowly drains your mental battery. That's why many people feel exhausted without even doing anything meaningful. Successful people eliminate this drain by structuring their day so their brain stays sharp for the decisions that actually matter. They also take physical energy seriously. They hydrate, they move, they sleep, they eat intelligently, not because they're fitness freaks, but because they know the mind depends on the body. A tired brain can't strategize. A stressed mind can't focus. A weak body can't support a strong ambition. High performers follow basic biological rules that most people ignore because they seem too simple. But simple things compound. The emotional energy part? That's the most underrated. Successful people avoid emotional chaos, clingy relationships, toxic friends, guilt traps, people who drain confidence. They keep their emotional environment clean, because emotional friction kills momentum faster than any bad habit ever could. They surround themselves with people who uplift their goals, not people who suffocate them. Once you understand energy management, your productivity instantly multiplies. Suddenly you're doing more in 3 focused hours than others do in 10 distracted hours. You stop burning out. You stop forcing motivation. You start building consistent momentum without feeling exhausted. Successful people don't have more time. They just have more usable energy. The feedback loop that accelerates growth. One of the biggest differences between successful people and everyone else is how they respond to feedback. Most people take feedback personally. Successful people take feedback scientifically. They don't treat criticism as an attack, they treat it as data. And this single mindset shift speeds up their growth like crazy. The average person avoids feedback because it hurts their ego. They prefer staying in their comfort zone where nobody challenges them. But successful people actively seek feedback. They want to know what's not working. They want to spot blind spots. They want to fix weaknesses before those weaknesses become permanent barriers. They understand that self-awareness is the engine of transformation. Here's the real game. Feedback creates a loop. Action, right pointing arrow, reflection, right pointing arrow, improvement, right pointing arrow, repetition. Most people only do the action part. They work, they try, they hustle, but they never pause to examine what actually happened. Successful people obsess over the reflection stage. After every project, every decision, every failure, every conversation, they ask, what worked? What didn't work? Why didn't it work? What can I improve next time? This small habit compounds into massive excellence. They also understand the difference between opinion and insight. Not every critic deserves attention. Successful people filter feedback based on logic, evidence, and expertise, not emotion. If a professional gives them feedback, they value it. If an unqualified person throws hate, they ignore it. That's why their confidence stays strong. They don't let useless noise block their growth. Another secret: successful people give themselves feedback too. They're brutally honest with their own performance. They don't lie to themselves. They don't pretend. They track progress, measure results, and analyze patterns. Because the mind you lie to is the mind that destroys your potential. Being real with yourself is uncomfortable, but it's the shortcut to mastery. And when they fail, they don't spiral, they don't panic, and they definitely don't quit. They treat failure like input. Just information, nothing more. They ask, what does this teach me? Instead of, what's wrong with me? That one question transforms failure from a dead end into a turning point. Feedback isn't just about correction, it's about evolution. When you learn from every attempt, every mistake, every conversation, and every experience, you grow at a speed normal people can't even comprehend. Your improvement becomes exponential, not linear. Most people repeat the same year 10 times. Successful people improve every year because they refine every step. The inner game: mindset, identity, and unbreakable self-belief. This is the deepest layer of success, the layer almost nobody talks about because it isn't visible, aesthetic, or easy to brag about. Yet it's the layer that drives everything else, the inner game. Skills matter, strategies matter, knowledge matters, but underneath all of that sits the foundation successful people build their lives on: identity and belief. Most people try to change their life with external effort, working harder, forcing habits, pushing discipline. But they never change the internal story they're telling themselves. Successful people flip this. They upgrade their identity first, and the behavior follows naturally. They don't say, I want to become successful. They say, I'm the kind of person who grows daily, who learns fast, who executes consistently. This identity becomes their default mindset. Your identity controls your actions. Your actions control your habits. Your habits control your future. So when your internal identity is weak, I'm not good enough, I'm not meant for big things, I'm not that type of person, your external life never breaks out of limitations. But when you start believing that you are capable, worthy, and meant to grow, everything changes. You start showing up differently. You take better decisions. You move with clarity instead of fear. That mindset shift becomes a turning point. Successful people also protect their inner dialogue. They don't let insecurity run their life. They don't allow fear to control their choices. They don't waste time overthinking worst-case scenarios. They train their mind with rational self-talk. They face challenges with a logical attitude. If a skill can be learned, I can learn it. If a problem can be solved, I can solve it. If success is possible for others, it's possible for me. This practical, scientific mindset keeps them grounded and unstoppable. Another thing, they don't chase confidence. They build it by doing difficult things. Confidence is not a feeling, it's a byproduct of repeated action. Every time you show up when you're scared, every time you learn when you're confused, every time you move forward despite discomfort, you build inner strength. Successful people understand that courage comes before confidence, not after. And this inner game becomes their secret weapon. When they fail, their identity protects them. When they face obstacles, their mindset guides them. When they feel lost, their belief carries them. This is why they keep going when everyone else quits. Their success is not just strategy, it's psychology. They're not running on luck or talent. They're running on a solid inner foundation that can withstand pressure, uncertainty, rejection, and setbacks. Once you master the inner game, the outer world becomes way easier. Because the strongest victories are always won inside first.